Greetings and salutations, my name is Kyllax, and this is my lesson plan to get better at Smite. So recently I began playing Smite. This is a MOBA style game, currently in open beta, and I found myself immediately passionate about it. I love the action, I love the third person viewpoint instead of the top down viewpoint, and the strategic possibilities that it presented. And even though I had heard of the genre of games before, and some of the bigger names in the genre such as League of Legends and Dota, I'd never actually played a MOBA style game before. Now, not to toot my own horn, but my first few matches in Smite were a blast. They were so much fun, and while I wasn't the MVP in those games with the most kills, I can honestly say that I did well. Then, reality set in. So what was happening? I was playing the same way with my auto build going, but I wasn't having as much success as before. Several games went by and my anger level was rising, and I was starting to go on tilt where I was making dumb decisions based off of anger instead of logic. Now, me personally, I've never been one to make the smartest decisions when I'm angry, and more often than not, I was being justifiably punished by the enemy because of these decisions. So I found myself watching the action and increasingly becoming frustrated because I didn't understand what was going on.
What the fuck is this shit? Who the fuck are you, lady? Why the fuck did you hug my head? What the fuck does that mean? Has everyone gone fucking nuts? What the fuck happened to that guy's head? I want some...
So finally it just dawned on me. I was relying on my experience in previous first-person shooters and RPG games, but Smite's not that type of game. I was a stranger in a strange land and I needed to learn the ways of this gorilla in the mist. At first I tried to drink from the proverbial fire hose of information that is available, but I quickly got overloaded, which of course resulted in sub-poor results. It was too much to try to take in at one time, and so I came up with the idea for this series in order to help me get better at Smite. Step 1 is learning the gods. I want to learn the characters that you can choose from, what their types are, whether they're considered magical, physical, ranged, or melee, what their recommended roles are, what their passives are, and just generally what their advantages and disadvantages are. Step 2, terminology. This is where I'll be delving into the MOBA specific terms and looking at whether or not Smite has any terms and what those concepts and terms actually mean. Step 3, know your role. So now that you know the gods and you know what their recommended roles are, how do you play that role? Step 4, read the team. So before the match even starts, I want to be able to figure out what roles my team has and what roles my team needs in order to help win that match. Step 5, read your enemy. So much like reading your own team, after the selection of our characters and gods for my team, I want to be able to analyze the opposition's team for their strengths and weaknesses. Step 6, items and builds. This will be where I'm learning the items and looking at different god builds in order to find out which ones best suit my playstyle. Step 7, situational awareness. This will be where I'm learning map awareness, clock management skills, and also just being aware of my situation. Numero ocho, communication. Identifying who needs to know what and when they need to know it, as well as how to convey that to them. Step 9, the meta. Now this is a concept that's somewhat hard to explain, but essentially it's the game within the game. Think of it like a game of rock, paper, scissors. If 75% of the people are throwing rock on their first throw, if you knew that information, what would your first throw be? Well, if you want to win the majority of the time, you would throw paper in order to counter the rock. Well, as more and more people throw paper, the popularity of paper rises until somebody realizes that scissors counters paper, and then the cycle starts all over again. Now, Smite and MOBAs in general, as long as they're balanced, are the same way. Every god character has some way to counter them or prevent them from being successful. So in Smite, the meta is all about the gods that are being picked and why they're being picked. For example, in your general conquest match, you have specific roles that are popular and expected, as well as specific gods that are expected and popular to play those roles. But what if you designed a new strategy that countered this expectation? Well, then you would be creating a new meta. Now you may ask, what makes this guide unique? And the following is my response. 1. The guide's made by a new player. What that means is that this plan is a fluid concept being put together by a new player for other players, and that's a plan that I will be personally implementing to help me get better. Now, allow me to put out this disclaimer in case it wasn't clear in the beginning when I said that I'm new to MOBA style games. I am not a Smite expert. Yet. I am, however, passionate about Smite and about wanting to get better. So currently I feel that expert level players may disregard, gloss over, or simply overlook questions or issues that a new player will encounter or ask. So by putting this together as a new player, it also means that I can adapt the lesson plan as I encounter questions or run into roadblocks. It also means that I can post up tips and solutions that I encounter as I go through these roadblocks. I cannot, in good conscience, however, overlook any disadvantages that can arise just because I'm a new player. Things like putting out bad information. What I can promise is that should I find out later that something I said or did was incorrect, I will do everything in my power to remedy the discrepancy. Number 2. Anything I create to help me, I will find a way to make available to those who ask. Now, as I seek to improve my own gameplay, I think I've devised a few ways to help me learn that are creative and unique. I only have one example currently that I'll put out, and that is the program Nemesign. Now, this is a free flashcard program that anyone can download and use to help them memorize information. Well, if you look back at the lesson plan that I laid out, you can see that Smite has a lot of information to memorize, and so currently I've created Nemesign flashcard databases to help me remember all of the gods and another one for their passives. Should you ask for it, I'd be happy to provide them free of charge. I will be looking at putting them up on common Smite sites such as smite.boards.net, as well as Smitefire, and also on the Reddit stream. So this will be true of anything else that I create in order to help me get better. Now, I have other ideas formulating, but I'm doing all of this during my free time, so I don't feel it would be right for me to promise something and then in the end not deliver. Number 3, examples of concepts. So all the concepts, terms, and ideas I want to have laid out so that they can be easily understood. Oftentimes, I will see the terminology used, but never really displayed or shown. Number 4, periodic reviews. So every so often I'll post a random, full game with commentary in order to just see how I'm doing, and to show whether or not I'm progressing or regressing. Now when these are posted, constructive criticism is appreciated in order to help make the lesson plan better. So in conclusion, I came up with this lesson plan in order to help me get better at Smite. Now, I'm recording it and putting it up on YouTube in the hopes that I can help somebody else get better at Smite. For those of you who have played chess and have played against an opponent who is obviously overmatched, you know that that match is not fun. It's not fun because it's not challenging. It's my hopes that this lesson plan will help raise my gameplay level and the gameplay level of other players to a level where it's more challenging for the community as a whole, and thus more fun for the community as a whole. Now, should you have any tips, tricks, or advice that you feel that I need to include in my lesson plan, please post it in the comments below. You can send it to my email, kyllax@hotmail.com. You can send it to my Twitter, @TheKyllax. Or if you feel like you want to show me in-game what you know, feel free to add me as a friend in-game, and we'll work something out. I hope to see you in-game.